welcome to the Partnership Publishing podcast. I'm Florence Hannah, and today we are joined with our new poet, Saira Anwar. Welcome, Saira.
Hi everyone. Hi Florence.
Hi,
I'm
hello.
Saira and my pen name is Saira the Poet.
You are, and that she is, ladies and gentlemen. This is not her first book. And hopefully today we can learn so much more about you and your journey. So perhaps you'd like to begin with, with just that, maybe sharing a little bit of your backstory.
So before I dive into my story, I'll take you back to a pivotal moment in my life. So it was 2011. I had just received a marriage proposal from Australia, and it felt like a dream. Uh, and I was swept up in the promise of a new beginning. Sunshine in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, with that charming Aussie accent all around. So I said yes. Within a month, I was married. So
Wow.
everything, it was all like, it all happened in a rush from his side, ignoring advice to slow down. And very quickly, the dream crumbled. It came down, it crumbled. Within 3 months, I returned home back to Manchester in October 2011, heartbroken, traumatized, and lost. So I was diagnosed with PTSD, and because I was having like nightmares at night, I was crying, I was overwhelmed, shut myself away to even talk to friends or anyone. Then my brother encouraged me to go counselling. I was hesitant at first, but I gave it a go. And after my first session, something shifted. I That's how I began writing. At first, just to process what I was feeling, and then it turned into poetry. And then that was then my turning point at the end of the marriage. I mean, the end of the marriage wasn't the end of me. It led me to discover my voice as a poet.
Mm.
And through the storm, I found something powerful, my ability to turn pain into power.
Yeah, very much so.
And then in 2014 came my very first book, The Death of a Beautiful Dream, which became an Amazon top 20 bestseller. And then my brother created a website and I began sharing my website, began sharing my work to help others
Mm.
and to find their own way through, find their own light through dark times.
Mm.
As you know, my poetry explored themes of marriage, divorce, healing, self-love, and love. And yeah, and then also I work with children as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
professionally.
Wow.
So I hope that sums everything up.
It really does in such a concise way, and we've been so blessed to be able to get to know you now for quite a few months, obviously working quite closely with you through the publication of your new release and learning and understanding more about your journey and what you've been through. It's not least when we received your submission. So the poetry, so for those listening and watching, the poetry is just beautifully driven is probably a really lovely way to explain it. It's really thought provoking. And actually, on that point, with it being thought provoking, there was a really beautiful moment where we both kind of had that conversation to be like, this could be actually so much more than that standard poetry collection, which on its own it would work incredibly well, but we could enhance that just that little bit more. And so, what you're going to find with Rising from Despair, A Journey to Hope, is that there are also journal prompts. So, the reason for these journal prompts, one of the main reasons was because you're actually wanting to help people through your work. And we understand the importance of that massively. So, how, over your journey, even up to now, how have you found that? How has that kind of steered your poetry and writing?
That is strange because it's been very therapeutic.
Mm,
So, like I said at the beginning, I wrote it for therapy reasons after my first counseling session,
mm,
and then it turned into poetry.
mm,
And then from that, me and like my brother had a discussion, and
mm,
like he said that, he asked me, "What do you want to do?"
mm,
And I discussed about, I've always wanted to help people. So like,
mm.
maybe like I've always given unsolicited advice to people over the
Yeah.
phone.
Mm,
I've just always been like that where people would call me, ring me up for advice, but you can't really, I think with that, you can't really give advice if you've walked in their shoes
yeah.
before. And I
Yeah.
think it's probably those times that I lacked that in those times. And then when I've gotten married,
Mm,
and having gone through it myself,
mm,
then I decided to that was going to be my vision from healing myself after having like 6 to 8 counseling sessions. I had CBT therapy, and through the NHS doctor because I was having those bad nightmares,
mm,
that discussed everything that had happened within those like 3 months when I was in Australia. And counseling really helped me. And then I went home after my first session, wrote a poem, and I took it back. And she's called Jean McLaren, I think, my
mm.
counselor. And I showed her, and she goes, "Sarah, I'm not surprised you got a star in English,
Wow.
because she had looked at it, and
Yeah.
she was saying how strong the language was then from
Amazing.
my first counseling session."
And had you ever written poetry prior to that?
No,
Wow.
we had done it in high school.
Mm, yeah.
But in high school, I had such a rough time because I was bullied.
Mm, mm,
Right from year 7 to the end of
yeah.
high school, I was bullied,
Mm,
and my teachers didn't really care about me at all in high school. I didn't get the help that I needed.
mm,
And even with English, they promised to put me in this middle set, but they kept me in the bottom set or like the whole throughout year
yeah.
7 to year 11.
Mm.
And
Oh, proving them wrong now.
yeah, I've proved my teachers wrong now
Mm,
after all these years. Actually, one teacher got in touch with me. She called me a narcissist actually on Facebook. And that really upset me. I think I just like broke down to tears. I blocked her. I think she blocked me and I blocked her.
mm,
And I think she was calling my cover of my first book One-Eyed. Right.
mm,
But yeah, I just like with poetry, so therapeutic,
yeah.
it's so therapeutic. This is why
Mm,
it's so important. I think people should, I mean, I'm not trying to force people, but there is different ways. If it's not poetry, there is different ways you
mm,
can do painting,
mm,
drawing,
mm.
is whatever, comes
Something that
naturally to
takes you
people.
outdoors, just more on that
Mm,
creative kind of freedom approach, isn't it? That can really help
yeah.
us as humans, as beings, and souls ultimately. But no, it really felt such a synchronicity, kind of having those journal prompts to help aid people when you're reading some of your poetry, like you've mentioned. One of your lines reads, "Poetry chose me." And obviously, with what you've just described, I get goosebumps even thinking about it because you've just described with the counseling session, like the poetry just came through you, like it chose you. And you really feel that with your writing as well.
It's exactly that line. Poetry chose, I didn't choose poetry, poetry chose me, is my way of saying because through this
Mm,
like divorce,
mm,
I found my voice as a poet, you
mm,
know. So it didn't
mm.
end there after my
No,
divorce. It's sort of it's like sort of like my voice was buried beneath
yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just took this
Mm.
experience for it to come out
Come out.
and
Yeah.
then turn something negative into a positive.
Yeah.
This is what people always say to me, look, you've turned something negative into something like beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think when after that first counseling session, people actually said it to me
Mm.
that it's a hidden talent, but it's no longer a hidden talent now.
No, like you say, bestseller on Amazon, you've got multiple books and we're so blessed as Lotus Books, we want to be able to provide a platform to give people a voice. That's always our passion. That's first and foremost, give people a voice and share untold stories, but also in this instance an incredible poetry collection that is incredibly inspiring. And it allows you, when you're reading it, to go through this journey. Um, but ultimately, it's not all that negative. You've always got that knack of turning it into that hope, into that positive. Um, yeah, it really is stunning. I have
Because
here,
people with poetry, people actually relate to it more, like when like the writer is vulnerable,
yeah,
when the poetry is raw,
mm,
it's honest, it's
yeah.
like that vulnerable because, you know,
You have to have that relatability, and it is. You can tell the authenticity within your writing. It just jumps off the page. Um, I mean, within your writing, we've got themes of faith, self-love, and rebirth kind of flowing throughout your work. How would you say your spiritual journey has evolved alongside your writing?
I think it's with like, as you know, like very my like faith is very important to me.
Mm,
You know, and the role of faith plays a crucial role
mm.
as you know, mentioned in my healing process,
Yeah.
because it's the foundation. It's been the foundation of my life. It's provided me with the strength to navigate through life's challenges
Mm,
and with determination and patience
mm,
while maintaining
yeah.
a positive look.
Definitely. I
You
think as
know,
well, anyone that, if anyone listening or watching has gone through, those traumatic moments or times, and there is that relatability factor when reading Rising from Despair or any of Saira's work, to be honest, I think you're also on your own spiritual journey. Whether that's, following a faith or not, but it's that self-care, it's getting to know yourself. And as women, it's quite an empowering collection, this as well, to be honest. I think because of that flip with that journey to hope and that spiritual journey or that journey of then knowing oneself, I think there's that empowerment, like that encouragement. And I do feel that that's what people can definitely expect, especially with those journal prompts that you're continuously encouraging us as the reader to connect with ourselves. That's incredibly important.
yeah, and I would like when we were discussing it, like I said, like we're inviting the readers to journal their own healing journey. So after each poem of mine, they've got journaling section to do
Mm.
their own bit in,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It
which
works.
then this now connects readers on a deeper level,
I
you know.
wonder if I could, for those listening, you won't be able to see this. However, you can see here, there's the poem on the right-hand page, and then you can see on the left-hand side, there is a fantastic full page that allows us to then make notes or what we felt when reading the poem. Um, yeah, reflect, for example, the poem is You Are Meant for Love. And the journal prompt is reflect on your worthiness of love. What steps you can take to embrace love more fully in your life, whether self-love or love from others. And so it's an incredible prompt. You're then reading Saira's poem, just to give a little bit of an example. The first stanza. So you're deserving of love's embrace, filled with grace, a shining trace. Know your value, know your worth in every moment on this earth. I won't go on. That it continues and it gets even better. Um, you could literally pick up this book at any page and literally get such an encouragement and of words. I've just done it again. I've literally just flicked. You are worthy of love. Train your heart so that it knows that you are worthy of love. You deserve love. You deserve to be seen, admired, valued, and respected. Every page, without fail, is an encouragement. Um, Incredibly inspiring. So to move on, there's a quiet power in your lines, as we've just witnessed, um, about reclaiming womanhood and redefining marriage, particularly in cultures where divorce carries heavy stigma. What do you hope women in particular can take from your work? It's an interesting question. It's a deep question, to be honest.
Yeah, give me some time. Uh, um, so also gives women to other women to permission to reclaim theirs. I want women, especially those navigating cultures
Mm,
where shame and stigma are still attached to
mm,
divorce or speaking up, to know that they are not alone,
yeah, yeah.
that they are allowed to rewrite the stories, not in whispers, but in bold, beautiful language. I hope my work helps everyone to
Mm,
see their softness as strength, that healing is not weakness, that their worth is not diminished by what they've been through, and that
mm,
love, whether it comes from within,
mm,
yeah, from faith or from community or
mm.
friends, is always something they are worthy of. More
Yeah.
than anything, I want them to feel that they are seen,
Mm,
respected,
mm,
cheered on,
mm.
empowered to define their own path no matter what anyone else says.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Woo. It does. It's again just incredibly inspiring, incredibly encouraging. Um, in your poem, I want to be the voice. We've touched on already in this conversation that you felt that your voice was silenced. Um, you declare a desire to speak for the silenced. In a world of noise and distraction, how are we ensuring your poetry remains a voice of clarity, and truth? I guess, there's a lot that people listening and watching, there's a lot that Sarah's going to be doing. Sarah's ready and waiting for radio interviews. We've got a full marketing campaign ready and raring to go with this new release. So I guess, yeah, how would you like to be able to continue to champion your work ultimately?
Great question. Is it just, like continue writing like I'm doing?
Mm,
It's been 13 years and it's something that I absolutely love. And I can't, my life is so incomplete without poetry.
mm, mm,
And like touching upon when you said, I want to be the voice, when I wrote it, it came from that deep ache of having once left invisible. And I think that's why I'm so intentional with my words
mm,
now. I write from a place of lived experience, healing, and
mm,
of faith. My hope is that my poems cut through the noise because they are real, like I said, they are
mm,
vulnerable, they are honest, and they speak from the heart
mm,
to another heart.
mm.
in terms of how I championed it, in terms of how I want to champion this work, I want to continue showing up authentically
Mm,
through podcasts like this, radio shows,
mm,
radio interviews,
mm.
interviews like with the Publishing Post.
Exactly. There's a fantastic interview coming out there as well.
Yeah, through radio interviews, performances, spoken
Yeah.
word performances, open mics,
Mm,
through connecting with readers one-on-one,
mm,
whether that's online or in person. I'm also
mm,
really excited about the journaling prompt elements
mm,
in the book
mm.
because it creates space and, like I
Yeah.
said, it connects them on a deeper level.
I think as
And
well, just on that note, so for anyone wanting, which I would encourage you all to do so, to follow and connect with Saira, please do. So you are on Instagram, you're on TikTok, anywhere on socials, you can just Google Saira, Saira the poet, and
yeah,
your website as well, you mentioned.
yeah, it is. So if you just enter Saira the Poet, my website should come up, but it's www dot
Saira.
sairaanwar.co.uk.
Yeah. It's amazing. She comes up. And again, if you can get to see her at an open mic or a speaking event, we would encourage you to do so. Um, you genuinely can read your poetry a lot better than we can. We're providing the platform. We are your biggest supporters, your fans. We are so excited for the release of this collection and how it can help people and inspire people so very much. For anyone who would like to be kind of potentially pursuing their writing journey or becoming, kind of putting their poetry kind of down on paper, is there a piece of advice maybe that you'd like to give that person, or if, yeah, or just kind of any encouragement that you'd like to give?
Yes, I would say, like, what is your intent? Like, what is your, like, what do you call it? Purpose, like, behind your
Mm,
writing, like your aim and stuff.
mm,
Um,
mm. That always helps
um,
massively.
yeah, let me just give me some time
No, you're absolutely fine.
to.
I mean, that in itself, having to know your purpose, it's incredible advice to understand your purpose of your writing, your intent of writing. I think as well, sometimes if it can come from a place of that trial or tribulation, that anger, that emotion, it's definitely emotion led, isn't it, poetry? Has to start with that feeling.
So, for anyone listening who's thinking about writing, especially poetry, I just want to say this that your voice matters, your story matters. You don't need to have everything figured out or wait for the perfect moment. Just start, write what's true for you.
Mm,
Write from here, write from the heart, even if it feels messy,
mm,
even if it's raw, if it's uncertain, because that's where the real power is. Because when
mm,
I first started writing, I never imagined that The Death of a Beautiful Dream would be out, or Rising from Despair, or I would be performing or having, conversations like this.
mm,
And, it began as a way to heal. And I believe that's where the strongest writing comes from, the
mm.
place of being vulnerable, it being raw, being honest,
Yeah.
and having that courage. So my advice is give yourself permission to be vulnerable. Don't worry about it being messy
Mm,
or polished or perfect. Just be real, keep going, even when it's hard. Keep
mm,
showing up for yourself,
mm.
because someone out there needs your words. They
Yeah.
need to hear it. They need your voice. They need your light, your truth. And just like you might have once needed someone else's, your words have the power to heal not just others, but you too. So trust that and never allow anyone to dim your light or never let anyone tell you otherwise.
Wow. That's some, yeah, really empowering words. Thank you so, so much, Saira. Honestly, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to speak with you today. And yeah, never let anyone dim your light. People, you've heard it here first. Saira, thank you so, so much. For those listening and watching, please purchase Rising from Despair, A Journey to Hope. Let's help as many people as we can living in this crazy world. And yeah, it's available. It's on pre-order now, but it will be available at the end of this month in all good bookshops, in all good bookstores, worldwide. So no, thank you so much, Saira, and congratulations. We're excited for these next steps. Thank you all for listening and watching. Take care. Bye for now.